So this process that you need to understand, the formation of urine, it takes place in the basic functional unit of the kidney, which is called the nephron. So this is the structure of the nephron. Here, this is the structure of the nephron. So the basic functional unit of the kidney is called the nephron, and this is the structure of the nephron. So when labeling this, what you need to understand is that here at first, there's what we call blood flow. So blood is flowing, entering. Immediate here at just this point, okay, just at this point, we call this part to be the afferent end. Afferent, like this, afferent end. Okay, then the exit, this one, it is called the efferent. So there is the afferent and efferent end. Okay, so the entrance afferent, the exit efferent end. Okay, so that's what you need to understand first as we're beginning. You're welcome. So from there, there's this that you're seeing. This is called the glomerulus. Glomerulus, like this. Okay, so this is the glomerulus. Then down here, this is called the Bowman's capsule. So this is called the Bowman's what? Capsule. Okay, so that's the Bowman's capsule that you need to understand there. All right, so let's proceed. Then there's this folded region here, these folded regions. The first one, it is called the first. There are two. There's the first and the second. So the first, it is called the first proximal. The first proximal, like this. The first proximal, then you say convoluted tubule. Convoluted tubule, like this. That's the first one. Then meaning the second one, it is called the second. This is called the second. Okay, now this one is a distal. This one is the proximal. Then this one, it is the distal. So distal, like this. You're welcome. How are you doing? So it's also a convoluted tubule. Okay, I want to talk about urine formation, the structures that will take place here. So we have the blood flow as blood is entering. We have the afferent end where it is starting. We have the efferent end. We have the glomerulus. And this whole thing, it is the Bowman's capsule. The folded region, the first one is called the proximal convoluted tubule. The second one, it is called the distal convoluted tubule. Okay. Then here, down, this, we have what we call the loop of Henle. The loop of Henle. Okay. Loop of what? Henle. Then this is a duct, which is called the collecting duct. Okay. Then at the end now, we have what we call blood flow. The blood flow. So we have now what we call the blood flow here at the end. All right, so let's check now. How is urine going to be formed? How is urine to be formed? So you say for urine to be formed, it will involve 4 processes. So it's a formation of urine. Formation of urine. Formation of urine involves. So it involves 4 processes or stages. Okay, so 4 stages. The formation of urine from this thing which you call the nephron, it will involve 4 stages or processes, of which I'm going to write them here. Okay, so the first process, it is called ultrafiltration. Ultrafiltration, which is also called pressure filtration. So what happens during ultrafiltration? What is this process? Ultrafiltration. One thing that you need to know is this: the blood that comes, okay, the blood that enters this, it comes under high pressure. You say the blood which enters the cell, it enters under high pressure. So during ultrafiltration, this is the filtration of small molecules such as water. To filter off is to sieve, such as water, to filter off mineral salts, okay, we have such as water, mineral salts, we have glucose, and urea. So during ultrafiltration, which is also called the pressure filtration, water, mineral salts, glucose, and urea, which are small molecules, they'll be filtered off from the glomerulus into the Bowman's capsule. So as blood enters, in blood, there's the presence of water, mineral salt, glucose, and urea. There is also plasma. So as the blood is entering here, okay, the glomerulus is like a sieve. It will filter off. The large molecules, they'll remain. The small molecules, they'll enter here. The droplets, the small molecules, will do what? They'll enter. Okay, that's why they're saying during ultrafiltration, it is the process where you filter off mineral salts, glucose, and urea. So what will happen here? This is a stage. As blood enters from the heart, here the blood that is entering, it's coming from the arteries, okay? It's flowing through the arteries from the heart. So you say the blood which enters the glomerulus, it enters under high pressure. So there will be pressure. Pressure will be built up. Pressure will be built. Okay, pressure will be built up. They'll ask you, explain why pressure will be built up in the glomerulus here. Why is there going to be pressure here? One, the first point you say, the blood that flows from the heart coming to this point is flows through the what? The arteries. So you say the blood that comes from the arteries, it is under high pressure. So there'll be pressure here because the heart, it pumps blood. The heart, the function is to pump blood. So the reason why there will be pressure in the glomerulus here, you say this is because the blood, okay, you say the blood that comes, okay, the blood that comes from the arteries is under high pressure. Okay, when the heart is pumping blood, okay, the arteries, they're responsible to transport blood from the heart to the parts of the body. So meaning the blood that comes from the heart, it is under high what? Pressure. The blood that comes from the heart, it is under high pressure and it happens through the vessel called the arteries. So the reason why there will be pressure in the glomerulus, one, you say the blood that comes from the arteries is under high pressure. The blood that comes from the arteries is under high pressure. That's number one. Okay. Number two, you say the reason why there will be pressure in the glomerulus, you say, as you can see, there is this part which is called the afferent end. And there's this one also, which is called the efferent end. So the reason why there will be pressure here in the glomerulus, you say the afferent end is wider than the efferent end, meaning there will be a lot of blood that will enter, but at the exit, the door is small in such a way that there will be pressure in the glomerulus. So the reason why there will be pressure built up in the glomerulus, the afferent end is wider than the efferent end. Afferent end is wider than the efferent end, meaning there will be pressure here. So you say the afferent end is wider than the efferent end. Okay, so they'll ask you which part of the nephron does ultrafiltration takes place. So it takes place where in the what? In the glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule. So blood comes under high pressure. It will filter off. That's where ultrafiltration takes place here, to filter off. So ultrafiltration, it takes place here to filter off small molecules. So small molecules such as what? We have said the small molecules, we have water, okay, mineral salts, glucose and urea. They'll be filtered off. They'll go here. They'll be filtered off. So they'll ask you, what substances are filtered off during ultrafiltration? So the substances which will be filtered off during ultrafiltration, water, mineral salts, okay, glucose and urea. Explain why there'll be pressure here in the glomerulus during the ultrafiltration. One, the blood which comes from the heart, it flows through the arteries, so it is under high pressure. Therefore, there will be pressure built up in the glomerulus. Two, the afferent end is wider than the efferent end. Therefore, there will be pressure here. Okay, so what things will be left? What things will be trapped during this process? So you said during ultrafiltration, the red blood cells and the large molecules such as plasma proteins, they remain inside the glomerulus. During this process, the red blood cells, and the plasma proteins, they remain. What substances remains during ultrafiltration? The large substances such as the red blood cells, you say the red blood cells and plasma proteins, they'll be trapped here, they'll remain here. Meaning the large molecules, the small molecules, they'll go such as water, they'll enter here. Mineral salts, they'll enter here. Okay. Glucose and urea, they'll do what? They'll enter. These are small molecules. What large molecules will remain? We have plasma, proteins, and the red blood cells. So that's the first stage, which is called ultrafiltration. So ultrafiltration is just to filter off. Now, the liquid here which enters during this stage, it is called glomerular filtrate. So the liquid which enters here, the mixture of water, mineral salts, glucose, the liquid which enters, it is called glomerular filtrate. Like this, glomerular what? Filtrate. So glomerular filtrate, it is a liquid or the fluid, okay, which enters into the Bowman's capsule by the renal tubule. The second process, it is called selective reabsorption. 1, ultrafiltration. 2, selective reabsorption. So selective reabsorption, this is a reabsorption of useful substances in the glomerular or in the renal tubule with the fluid. So what happens is this. Selective reabsorption, it takes place in the folded regions. Selective reabsorptions, it takes place in a folded what? In the folded regions. The first one, the proximal, which one? This one, it reabsorbs all glucose and water and some salts. Glucose, water, and some salts. The second one, it reabsorbs salts and what? Water. This one, the first one, this, you say the function, it reabsorbs water, glucose, that's the first one. The second one is just reabsorbs water and what? Salts. So selective reabsorption, it takes place in the folded regions. Which ones are those? Proximal convoluted tubule and the distal convoluted tubule, where the first one, the proximal, it reabsorbs water, glucose, and some salts. The second one, water and salts only, where urine will come from. The third process is called osmoregulation. So, osmoregulation, it is the regulation of water levels in the body. So osmoregulation, it takes place where? In the loop of Henle. That's where osmoregulation takes place. So ultrafiltration, folded regions, selective reabsorption. The loop of Henle, osmoregulation. Okay. So the body has when if the body has got little water, if the body has got little water, what you need to know here, if the body has got little water, the hormone called antidiuretic hormone, also called vasopressin, anti antidiuretic hormone, which is also called vasopressin, is secreted by the pituitary gland in the brain, and it causes water to be absorbed from the glomerular filtrate into the surrounding cells. Okay, so the results of this, it makes the production of urine. So osmoregulation, it takes place in the loop of Henle. This, if your body has got low levels, the pituitary gland produces the hormone called antidiuretic hormone, which is also called what? Vasopressin. Where does osmoregulation take place? In the loop of what? Henle. If your body has got low levels of water, what happens? The pituitary gland produces the hormone called antidiuretic hormone, which is also called vasopressin. So the vasopressin will only be produced if your body has got low levels of water only. But if the levels of water are high, it won't be produced. So the function of the vasopressin, it causes water to be absorbed from the glomerular filtrate. This filtrate, it causes water to be absorbed from the glomerular filtrate into the surrounding cells. This results into the production of small volumes of concentrated urine. But if your body has got enough water, antidiuretic hormone is not going to be secreted. And the last stage now is called secretion. Secretion is the removal of urine from the kidney through the collecting duct and ureter. This is what you need to understand the formation of urine: ultrafiltration, selective reabsorption, osmoregulation, secretion. So, ultrafiltration, selective reabsorption in folded regions, loop of Henle, osmoregulation. Then secretion in collecting duct and ureter, urine is now formed. All right, so this is what you need to understand about urine formation. Bye bye. This is the professor. Take care.